I, male 24, was responsible for reading a eulogy at my dad's funeral. It wasn't a surprise when he passed away. We knew for months it was coming. My dad was a fantastic father. He worked his butt off to make sure our family did okay. He also made a real effort to be there for me and my siblings. He came to our extracurricular activities and volunteered at fundraisers. He let my sister paint his nails and taught me to drive a stick shift against my will. He was, however, a crappy husband. My mom was a strange person. I used to love her, but she cares more about the appearance of things than the truth. After my youngest sister was born, my mom stopped wanting intimacy or any affection with my dad. I heard them fight about it. He never tried it again after being rejected constantly. What he did do was have affairs, lots of them. My mom threatened some really crappy things to force him to stay married to her. She threatened to go to the cops and accuse him of abuse if he tried to divorce her, but was okay with them sleeping with other women as long as he was discreet. So my dad basically treated my mom like a business partner. He gave her a lot of money to pay all the bills, and she got to keep her paycheck for herself. In return, she left him alone to be a dad and smash. It worked for them. He wrote his own eulogy because he wanted everything out in the open once she had nothing to hold over him. Since it was his dying request, I agreed to do it. It was funny, vulgar, profane, and honest, just like my dad. My dad's dad thought it was hilarious. He used to tell my dad to just leave dozens of times, but my dad didn't want to leave us with just my mom. My other grandparents, on the other hand, are furious about all the stuff that came into the open. My mom's calling me an idiot and said that she's going to do her best to make sure I never see my sisters, but one is an adult and the other one leaves for college in August. We've banded together against her for months now. Am I the idiot for following his wishes and reading a eulogy that he wrote for himself, exposing all the BS in his marriage and life? I might be one, because it exposed the crap my mom would have preferred never to see the light of day. Not the idiot. If I wrote my own eulogy, I'd want it said to the fullest. I think it's awesome you honored your father in such a way, but I'm sure if you turned him down, he would have just found someone else. I'm sure the anger from your mother's parents is rooted in their own embarrassment, and the same goes for your mother. I'm sure your dad would have been proud. Kudos for giving him a chance at poetic justice, even if it's just words. And may those words live on in the minds who have heard them. Yeah, pretty hilarious to publicly humiliate your wife once you're not there to deal with the fallout. Better to put the fallout on the kids. Sounds like OP's parents had a terrible marriage. That's on both of them. I wouldn't involve my kids in settling a score with their mom. That's deeply crappy, not some iconic move. OP is grieving, and I'm not going to put the blame for this on them. It's hard to say no to a dying request and fully consider the ramifications of this kind of black-hearted eulogy, but the dad is a true idiot. I agree that it was an idiot move to put it on his kid to do it. If he wanted to air out their dirty laundry, he should have recorded himself reciting the eulogy and requested that they play the video at the funeral without having anyone watch it before. He burned that bridge while his kids were still standing on it. OP's still not the idiot for following his dad's dying wish. Yes, the relationship between his parents was between them. Is his mother a good parent? If so, I hope it was worth humiliating her and risking being cut off from her. We don't necessarily know the full story here, so if the eulogy said crap like, "My wife refused intimacy with me for no reason, so I cheated with loads of other women," when she may have initially had a legitimate reason, e.g. a traumatic childbirth, of course she and her parents would be unhappy. She was using the children as weapons to keep her husband married to her after she baby-trapped him. She threatened to go to the cops and accuse him of abuse if he tried to divorce her. She controls the youngest daughter and can ruin their relationship with her siblings. What do you think? I'd say she's not a good mother or a good person. OP's dad is removing the wife's ability to control the narrative. I love it. He got one over your mom from the grave. I honestly feel like I'm going nuts from the situation. I've been carpooling with Beth, to work every weekday for about 2 months, with no problem. We take turns driving. So I'd consider us work friends, i.e., we take lunch breaks together sometimes, but don't hang out outside of work. Last week, I took the day off, and this is pretty public at work. My job is set up in shifts, and schedules are posted to everyone via an app so we can swap and change days if necessary. This was also something communicated to Beth, but I can admit it was conversationally, i.e., I finally got the tickets to go to Disneyland on Friday, and not directly, i.e., I can't take you to work on Friday because I'm going to Disneyland. I assumed she knew that we wouldn't be carpooling because she took a day off 3 weeks back, and although she didn't say anything directly to me, I went to work by myself, and she didn't tell me anything extra. The issue is that when I returned from my trip, my boss called me into her office and asked me about Beth and what happened the day I took off. Apparently, she didn't come to work, and a no-call, no-show is pretty serious at work and can lead to termination. Beth blamed me and said that I bailed on her and she couldn't get a ride to work. I explained that we carpooled, yes, but I took an official day off. Even if I didn't explicitly tell Beth, she sees the schedule weekly. Plus, Beth knew I had the day off because we talked about my plans for the trip just the day before I left. Unfortunately, Beth is getting in trouble at work now, and she's been telling everyone that I'm the idiot for getting her into trouble. I feel bad because technically, I didn't directly say, I cannot take you to work. Still, I also feel like it was obvious, and she herself did the same thing to me before, and I got to work fine. I'm not sure if I should apologize or not though, because it's causing some drama among my coworkers. Was Beth a no-show? So she couldn't Uber, call in that day to explain she'd be running late, ask someone else for a ride? Did she just use you not being there as an excuse to take the day off and then expect to get out of trouble by blaming you? Not the idiot. You should never drive with her anywhere ever again, and do not apologize. Yeah, apparently my boss tried to call her, and she didn't pick up. She didn't explain why she didn't pick up though, which is why my boss wanted to ask me for some more info. She also didn't call me while I was on my trip, which I did let my boss know, because I didn't want to get in trouble for lying. LOL, what? So she didn't answer her phone, didn't call you to see where you were, and didn't try to take an Uber in. You are not the mother of this grown woman. She decided to take a free day and get out of trouble by blaming you. She may have forgotten you wouldn't be there up to the point that you didn't pick her up, but her decisions after that are very telling. Beth can take her own sorry butt to work. No way she spent hours waiting for OP to show up without calling her. Not to mention not getting an Uber or answering the boss's calls. Listen, OP, your coworker is an adult woman, not a child. Actions have consequences. She knew you had a day off and most likely wouldn't be driving her to work. Do not feel bad or sorry for Beth. She just wanted a day off and thought she could throw you under the bus to get it. My husband and I don't have any biological kids. 4 years ago, we fostered Amelia, 19, and she's still living with us after aging out. We're also fostering 3 little kids. So needless to say, we have a pretty full house. My husband and Amelia have always had a difficult relationship. They're both pretty stubborn and butt heads a lot. We've considered telling our social worker that it wasn't working out so often, especially in the first year, because of how often they argued, how stressed the arguments made her, and because he has more of an authoritarian parenting style that she doesn't respond well to. She and I have always been very close though, and she considers me to be her mom. The problem is, since we've started fostering the younger 3, she's had to watch how good of a dad he is with the little ones and gets upset that he wasn't the same with her. It wasn't always rational, but there was a lot of resentment and jealousy that she had to work on. Now my husband has a niece, 18, who will be on her own this fall. Her parents are kicking her out at the end of the summer because she turns 18. She got a full scholarship to a school 10 minutes from us, and an hour away. My husband wants her to move in. He'll get her a car and have her go to the school that's 10 minutes away with us, financially supporting her. I don't want to do that. First, we already told Amelia we will not cover 100% of her expenses. She has a job and pays half of her car payment and insurance, all of her gas, maintenance, and repairs. She pays her portion of the phone bill and is responsible for all of her spending money. Us paying for all of that with his niece would hurt Amelia, and he'd either have to admit to having a favorite or we'd have to fully support both. I said if she goes to the school an hour away in an area with much cheaper rent, I wouldn't mind sending her some money every month to help her out with rent and groceries, with the expectation that she has a job and pays for some of her own expenses. He says we shouldn't expect her to be alone yet and thinks that only partially supporting her is still too harsh. I told him that we couldn't do anything for his niece that we were not doing for Amelia. Still, he thinks it's unfair to compare the two and says that Amelia should be grateful for what we provide for her, no matter what others get. I don't like how he's going about it, and he thinks I'm spoiling Amelia and abandoning his niece to spare Amelia's feelings. So I wanted to see if I was in the wrong. Ooh boy, your husband is telling you loud and clear what he thinks foster parenting is. His attitude is, these unfortunates I've generously taken in are not family, and I expect unfailing gratitude from them for allowing them to keep my roof over their heads. He doesn't like Amelia, and he wants her to know it. Excluding her is the whole point. Not the idiot, but I think you've been burying your head in the sand with regard to your husband's character. Unpopular opinion. You are the idiot. Your husband clearly hates Amelia, has been nasty towards her from day one, and obviously doesn't consider Amelia his daughter or even a family member. And you're refusing to acknowledge this or address this, leading to repeated situations where Amelia, who's already gone through a nightmare in the foster system, spent her last years in a toxic environment and then had her heart broken watching her foster dad love on and dote on her younger foster siblings, and potentially love on and dote on his niece. At the same time, you hold both incredibly high and unfair financial expectations from this teenage young adult. Take your husband to couples counseling and figure out what's wrong with him and why you're enabling his borderline abuse of Amelia. I agree. I'm curious if the husband actually wanted to keep fostering Amelia or if the wife pressured him into it. OP and her husband appear to have very different ideas of obligation to their foster kids. I'm guessing he sees them as temporary kids that they're fostering, not his kids, since they didn't adopt any of them. His niece is a real family. These kids are just fostered. I, 27 female, have a kindergarten-age son with my ex. I'm still on good terms with him, and he's a good dad to our son. He also has a stutter, and he's very insecure about it. It was my son's birthday party 3 days ago, and the first time my husband's family met my ex, so I told them about my ex's stutter and asked them to please not make any remarks. Everybody got the message and was very patient with him, except my sister-in-law. I guess because during their first conversation together, my ex had a bit of difficulty finishing a sentence. My sister-in-law started huffing in annoyance, and I just gave her a stop it look. During another conversation my ex had, once again, trouble finishing a sentence. My sister-in-law said, maybe we need to come back tomorrow, and by then his sentence will be finished, which made other people laugh, but not my ex. So I took my sister-in-law aside and told her to quit, and if she had so many issues with talking to my ex, she should go talk with other people. She promised she'd stop, and we left it at that. But during yet another conversation, when my ex's stutter showed again, she said, so are you going to finish that one, or should we just move on to something else? At this point, I had enough and finally asked her to leave. I told her that if she couldn't respect my ex's stutter, her place wasn't here. She protested and said that I couldn't kick her out of her nephew's birthday party, but I answered that I could. My husband arrived and told her to leave to avoid further drama. She agreed and left. Once everybody left, My husband started yelling that my behavior was embarrassing, that I ruined my son's party for childish drama, and that his parents were now mad at both of us for kicking my sister-in-law out. And apparently, they said they wouldn't allow me in their house again if I didn't apologize to her. Not the idiot. It's not childish drama. It's ableism and straight-up bullying. I have a speech impairment and difficulty phrasing what I think, and people often do similar things when I'm talking. The one thing I noticed is that people are always trying to undermine me or make me seem less than them. I believe your sister-in-law already wanted to make your ex feel unwelcome at his son's event. What the hell? Your sister-in-law is the idiot, a huge one. OP, open your eyes already. You chose to marry an idiot too. Idiots often have idiot relatives. So please go petty. Call your in-laws and say, I'm sorry you failed to raise your daughter without basic social graces. I'm sorry that you've allowed her to become a bully. I'm sorry that I can't co-sign her behavior like you do. Definitely do that. But wow, the family you married into is horrid. Just imagine their treatment had your son also had a speech impediment. Common decency aside, the sister-in-law must be removed for your son's benefit. Your son shouldn't be around someone like that and witness someone mocking and belittling his father for no reason. That's entirely unacceptable. I'd be extremely wary of the humor and examples your husband and his family are setting for your son. Your husband's reaction to this was a giant red flag. And this wasn't little, childish, or petty. Also, the party wasn't ruined. The absence of a grown adult making fun of someone's stutter at a child's birthday party could only improve the party. I, 28 male, proposed recently to my girlfriend, 27. We're planning the wedding to happen next year. My fiance has a 5-year-old golden retriever mix. I had a few bad experiences with dogs as a kid. Her dog is very friendly and gets all the attention from my fiance. She denied some jobs that won't let her work from home because she worries about the dog. I work from home 3 days a week, and she only texts asking how the dog is. I planned this lovely trip last weekend to celebrate our engagement. I booked a nice hotel and made reservations at a nice restaurant. One of our close friends stayed with the dog. My fiance asked her to text with an update every 2 hours. I did my best to make it a wonderful weekend. We had reservations for 7 p.m. at the restaurant. My fiance didn't get ready until 6:40 as she hadn't heard from the sitter. When we arrived at the restaurant, we had to wait 30 minutes for a table to open. When we sat down, my fiance spent the entire dinner on her phone trying to get a hold of the friend. I paid for the meal and got up from the table, telling her I would wait in the car. She came out 20 minutes later screaming at me for leaving her at the table alone. I yelled back that she ruined our engagement trip by putting the dog over us. We sat silently all the way home, and she was thinking about staying with her parents. I'm now being called an idiot for leaving the restaurant. Dude, call off the engagement. She's already married to the dog. I love my pets to bits, but a daily update from a close friend watching her dog should have been enough. You are not the idiot, but Jesus, please explain why you thought proposing to this person would be a good idea. Has she always acted this overbearing and obsessed with her dog? Or is this something new? I hope you didn't expect her behavior to change once you got engaged, because it's definitely not going to change if you choose to marry her. If she couldn't even carve out time for a celebratory dinner, think about what other milestones she'll miss because of the dog. She already has a number one in her life, and it's her dog, not you.